Hey, everybody. This is Chris Metzler, and welcome to SF Indie Fest. You just had a chance to see the really wonderful drama, Memorizing Allison, and we're lucky enough to have some of the crew and cast here. Thanks again, guys. Can you all
Thanks for
each
having us
introduce
here.
yourselves?
Go ahead.
I'm JP Allen.
I'm Kathy Montosa.
I'm Alison Ewing.
Welcome, guys. Well, maybe a good place to start is what was the kind of inspiration for telling the story?
Well, the story began as a novel, and it actually started from a real incident that occurred near our home, where someone was hit by a hit and run incident. So that happened. I began writing the novel, and I wrote that in about 2022. And then it was during COVID, so we were trying to figure out how to move forward with a project that would also be film. Had experimental ideas that we went through back and forth with. Then eventually I wrote a screenplay based on the novel, and then we had a reading. We got Alison involved, and at that point, Kathy got involved as became partners in figuring out the storytelling of how to really make it a screen-worthy project. So we worked together to develop it actually all through the production. We kept developing the storyline as we went along.
Very cool. And we were lucky enough, I know, JP, to have your film Girl and Girl and Go Park as part of Indie Fest a few years ago. How was the kind of visual and creative process for this differently, I guess, in the sense of given that you'd started off as a novel, and how did you all three work together to kind of help pull the story together on screen?
Well, the process is always basically everything's based on the story. So the locations and everything that we pick out, the objective is for them to visually enhance and tell the story. So we do that on every single project we're doing, trying to find the right things that we cinematically will tell and advance the story. And Kathy and I worked a lot on that. I don't know, maybe you can speak to how we developed this, if you like. I'm trying not to dominate the screen.
We just went through, actually, it just felt like this sort of revealed itself. And once Alison came on board, it really did sort of play out. We considered it as we went scene by scene within the script. We would see what else we needed within the script to advance the character development and tell the story to where it works and that it's clear.
I guess where Alison got involved is we did the original reading of the script, and that's where Kathy and I decided we needed to develop a lot more of the story and a lot more of Alison's character. And so Alison came in and didn't know a lot of the scenes that were going to take place in the film.
She did not. She was a trooper. She worked with us for sure.
Yeah. I don't know what that.
Yeah, that's a super special process for an actor to watch your character and the story literally evolve based on what's happening on set with the characters and getting to work with JP as an actor. I was in Girl in Golden Gate Park, and he and loved working with the both of them, but he wasn't an actor, so to get to play off of him was super special too, and just to be in that that unknown space, but have full trust in your creative partners and the people steering the ship was really fun.
Yeah,
that was wonderful how she.
So go ahead, Kathy.
Oh, it was just fun the way Alison, we call her up and say, "Hey, Alison, can you do this?" And yeah. I didn't really even know exactly what she was dipping into. And you'll see that after seeing the movie, you'll see what we're talking about. Some of the things that Alison has done within this film. It's been pretty special.
Definitely.
And
well, I was wondering, how do you guys, how do you keep the kind of mystery going on as you're kind of did you guys create the film sequentially, or was it kind of out of order? I guess I'm wondering about how do you keep that mystery going while also knowing, where things are headed? How much did the story evolve during the filming, or did it kind of follow along the way that you guys had scripted it based on the original novel?
I definitely developed. And I wouldn't recommend this process actually to anyone. This was an unusual process. It was more like a theater process where I used to work in the theater quite a bit as a playwright. develop the improvisationally certain and figure out the stories you're moving along. And that's where Kathy and I were working as partners, because the characters in the novel just have to be developed differently than they do in a screenplay. And we were shaping things and coming up with ways to do that along the way. And we knew where it was ultimately going, but we had to develop the characters in better ways and ways that were more cinematic.
And Alison, what most intrigued you about the character at first, do you think?
I mean, there's so much under the hood, right? There's so much that she's dealing with that gets revealed slowly, but it's there for her all along. And so I thought it was really interesting um, to deal with the past of that, and I can connect with a lot of things around opening up your heart and having trust and all of the things that can get in the way of that. So there's a lot of things that, like, just from a humanity perspective, I could connect to with her. But I was figuring her out as we went. I mean, I had the root of her, but we were exploring, and there were things that I had to think through as we were going along, which again is just such a treat and such a fun challenge. I mean, we shot this over almost a year and a half, and so and it's context switching, you know, when you go back into it, but just again, like the world that that JP and Kathy built, and just the creative conversations and collaboration, it all just sort of there was never any doubt in my mind that what we were finding was interesting, and like I just trusted it the whole way through. Not to say there weren't things of like, oh, let's figure this out, but there was just it was just a really fun thing to play with. Yeah. He's complicated.
Yeah. And I guess,
The time was at the essence in the sense.
Well, I was kind of curious too, JP, many of us know you as a filmmaker. What was it about the story originally that made you want to kind of write it as a novel? And, Kathy, what was it that you were seeing in what was kind of gestating in the novel that it seemed kind of worthy of adapting it into a screenplay?
Well, a lot of the I've written 3 or 4 novels, and it's almost as though I write the novels to make a film, because almost I think all of but one have been made into films. So it's not intentional. I'm not really doing it as I say that, but I think I have that kind of sensibility. So when I write them, then there just comes a point where this feels natural that may be moving forward into the screen world, the cinematic world.
What interested me was that just the thought of exploring memory and how it means within our lives, or losing somebody and trying to keep them within your soul as you go through and move on. So that's what this character is grappling with, and I think it's a human thing, but also the things that the messages we get as we're growing up, as we proceed from childhood into adulthood. How do we make sense of how we feel within the world? Are we safe? What messages have we gotten? And exploring that part of it was really fun. So
yeah. Well, and I can imagine, especially coming out of the pandemic, right? Those sorts of things about memory and reflection, definitely, I think, take on such greater magnitude to so many of us.
oh, absolutely.
And JP, I think, Alison mentioned, I think not having had a chance to work with you on screen, like what made you decide that, like, that you wanted to kind of both write and direct, but also kind of like take on that role? Was there something about it that kind of resonated with you deeply, or?
Well, originally, like I said, it started in sort of an experimental fashion. I was going to originally, the idea was to film the entire novel word for word. So that was the original idea. And then we thought we were going to act it out slightly and intersperse the novel and so forth, which it does just slightly in this piece. But once I'd begun, it was during the pandemic, it was just natural for me to play the part because there was nobody around.
Yeah.
Very prudent.
In yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but
it was you were the part.
And he was already in there, yeah.
And were there any?
Definitely knew him better than anybody else. That's for sure. Didn't have to transfer that knowledge.
And were there any kind of like authors or writers out there or films that kind of influenced the way that you all wanted to approach the film?
No, I think we really were trying to come from something strictly at the heart of the story and not think about the way anybody else would do anything, because that sort of, uh, you know, it can get in the way sometimes. If you're, for me, if I'm
Yeah.
being influenced by something, I just want to be influenced by the story. So I try to
Yeah.
avoid that for sure. I don't know about you, how you felt
Oh.
about it, Kathy.
No, I feel the same.
Yeah.
But
I do.
the reason why I ask is, whether it's intentional or not, is that I think maybe with partly you being, in the film JP and some of the stuff, there are some aspects of like Paul Auster's City of Glass books, that like just tonally kind of resonated with me, earlier. I mean, it's its own story, but there was just kind of, a little bit of, it's a different thing, the different things that you kind of take to it based on your own experiences, which is
That's
neat.
cool.
That's pretty perceptive, actually, because I really like quite a bit of Paul Auster. So maybe it did influence me.
How fun.
And all three of you have kind of definitely kind of embraced kind of working in the Bay Area community over the years. What do you think that kind of makes the Bay Area film community kind of special, and what is it that allows it to kind of keep on kind of plugging along?
Alison, do you want to answer that? You're doing a lot of...
We're doing out of pure passion for stories and for the art, and we're not doing it for like that's what I feel in this city, like, or in the Bay Area. I just feel like we're all drawn to this thing for like really altruistic, like deep reasons. Like, we got to do this and we want to do it together, and it only happens in community. And I'm kind of a hermit, like a little bit of a shy gal, which people are surprised by, but I've felt so embraced by the Bay Area film community, and like JP and Kathy, like their movies are love letters to the cities. It just feels so special to like have it all be here, and to have it be screening at SF Indie Fest. It has this unique, like, otherworldly thing. And I do work in other cities, but this has just such a special place in my heart, because it just feels like indie to the core, but also just like the highest quality, great people are here doing this stuff. I could talk forever. I'm sorry, I just went off a little bit there. But it's a special
Love
place.
that. And Chris, what I'll say too is just the interaction within the community at large, people who live here. It's just such a rich experience. For example, when we were shooting Alison on one of the scenes where she was coming up one of the streets here, it was in the Tenderloin area, and one of he appeared to be homeless, and he didn't speak, and he came and walked into the shop, and he didn't know. And one of the crew members said, "Could you please just move over there a little bit?" And he did. He moved over to the side, and he just stood there and just, was just right outside of it. And at the end of it, I just thought it was such a wonderful experience to be. I walked up to him and said, "Thank you for moving. Thank you for, you helped us. I really appreciate it." And he got a big smile, but he was a part of it. So that's what I loved about San Francisco. And there's examples of that, us shooting here all the time, that it's just so rich.
Good example.
Very cool.
Well, hey.
Oh yeah, JP.
I was just gonna say, in SF Indie Fest, how long have you been doing on this, Chris? That's like 25 years. Come on.
Yeah, I think maybe 26 or 27 years this year. So yeah, I mean, for those who aren't familiar, our founder Jeff Ross, he had some friends who had made a film at Slam Dance, and they didn't have a place to screen in San Francisco, and so he just decided to start a film festival to screen his friend's film, and then, next, 27 years later,
Love it.
He kept on discovering that there were lots of interesting films to show. And so, yeah, it's kind of a nice home base to be able to kind of, share films, just because, there's a lot of great work being made here in the Bay Area. And so it's kind of nice to, champion that. And also just, it's neat to have the surprises of like the films that'll go on the screen in other cities around the world, to get a chance to kind of get an early sneak peek at them here in the Bay Area.
Yeah, it's truly supporting independent film in the purest sense, I think.
And it means a lot to us, because we're independent filmmakers in San Francisco, and you guys recognize you're an independent film festival, and it's San Francisco. So this just means a lot to us. It's wonderful. Your festival is wonderful.
Well, very cool. And also, I should ask for those that want to kind of continue to follow your guys' work or maybe see other projects. Is there a good kind of website for any of you?
Coffeeandlanguage.com. All
Coffee
one
and
word.
language.
spelled out.
I'm pretty boring to follow on social media, but I obviously have an IMDb and I'm on Instagram. It's Ewing Allison. And I'm trying to be a little more publicly saying hi, but that's basically where you'll find my updates on films and such. Got a few coming.
Cool. Well, thanks again for being part of SS Indie Fest, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
So
Chris.
Thank
Thanks
you,
again.
Chris.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. It was great.
Yes, definitely.
Looking forward to Thursday.